Friends, please like and comment. This is very important to us. Imagine that there is a giant sleeping inside you. Not a metaphorical one, but a real one. Ancient, wise, incredibly powerful. He can give you clarity of mind, iron will, creative insights, and even that very charisma that is impossible to resist. But there's a problem. This giant is fast asleep because his energy is being stolen by your hormones. Yes, that's right. Today we will talk about how sexual abstinence awakens the very power that Carl Jung wrote about, and why modern men and women voluntarily give up their power for literally moments of pleasure. Have you noticed that after sex you just want to lie down and do nothing? But after a week of abstinence, a strange energy suddenly appears. You want to create work, conquer the world. This is not just a coincidence. Jung called this transformation sublimation, when sexual energy is not wasted on short-term pleasures, but is redirected into something greater. Imagine that your libido is gasoline. You can burn it in vain, or you can fill up a racing car and rush towards your goals at breakneck speed. Let's take a real example. Let's say there are two friends. The first lives like everyone else. Regular relationships, frequent intimate relationships, evenings with TV series and beer. The second practices abstinence. 3 months later, the first is still complaining about life, and the second suddenly opens a business, starts writing a book, and attracts women's attention with just a look. What's the difference? The second does not waste energy. He saves it, and it begins to work for him. And now the most interesting thing, female psychology. Women subconsciously sense a man who controls his desires. It's like a smell that cannot be hidden. A man who does not chase every skirt automatically becomes more attractive. Why? Because he radiates power. He doesn't need, he chooses. And women feel it. But what happens on a physiological level? Testosterone. After a week of abstinence, its level jumps by 40%. This is a scientific fact. And testosterone is not just about muscles and aggression. It is about confidence, determination, that very inner strength that makes others listen to your opinion. Jung said that a person who has learned to manage his sexual energy gains access to the collective unconscious, that very ocean of wisdom that holds the answers to all questions. You suddenly begin to see signs, find solutions that previously seemed impossible. This is not magic. This is your true nature. So if you want to awaken your inner giant, try to just stop, at least for a month, and see what happens. You will be surprised. You probably heard stories about great people who consciously abstain from sex while working on important projects. Nikola Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci, Bruce Lee, they all understood that sexual energy can be the fuel for genius. But why does it work? Let's look at a simple example. Imagine that your mind is a lamp. When you constantly waste energy on sex, the bulb shines dimly. But when you accumulate this power, the light becomes brighter, and you begin to see what was previously hidden. Ideas suddenly come that change everything. You notice details that you previously missed. The world seems to suggest solutions to you. Jung called this the transition from libido to creativity. Instead of chasing instant pleasure, you direct energy into creation. And here's the interesting thing. The longer you hold on to this power, the more powerful the effect becomes. What happens to the brain after 30 days of abstinence? First, the dopamine level increases. You become more motivated, concentrate easier. Second, memory and speed of thinking improve. The brain is literally cleared of fog. Third, you begin to track people because your energy becomes magnetic. But most importantly, you stop being a slave to your desires. Most people do not even realize how much their behavior is controlled by hormones. They fall in love because the body demands sex. They make stupid decisions because libido distorts their perception. But when you take control of this energy, you become the master of your life. How do women sense a man who practices abstinence? Female intuition is not a myth. Women subconsciously scan male energy. And if a man constantly wastes himself on empty relationships, he becomes ordinary. No mystery, no depth. Now imagine another man. He does not throw himself at every skirt. He is calm, self-confident, and his eyes show strength. Women feel it. They can't explain why, but he attracts them. Because he is not hungry. He is the chosen one. What happens if you try? Try at least 21 days. The first week can be difficult. Your body will demand what is familiar. But after 10 days, you will notice the first changes. You wake up in the morning feeling refreshed, even if you slept little. Your head becomes clear, as if you wiped the glass. People start treating you differently, with more respect. And in a month, you will understand that you held the key to your true power in your hands, but you just didn't use it. Is the game worth a candle? It's up to you. But if you ever want to feel truly alive, try it at least once. Deeper into the topic, how abstinence changes your reality. Have you ever noticed that after intimacy, the world seems to lose its colors? And on the third day of abstinence, you suddenly begin to notice the smallest details. How the air smells after the rain, how the light plays on the leaves, how sincerely a child laughs. This is not an accident. When you stop splashing your energy, your perception sharpens. Jung called this a return to wholeness, a state when a person is not divided into body and mind, but exists as a single powerful being. Let's take the story of one of my friends. Previously, he lived like most people, meetings, dates, fleeting relationships. Everything seemed fine, but at some point he realized that he was stuck. His career was not moving forward, creative projects were abandoned, and women somehow ceased to arouse interest. Everything became bland. Then he decided to experiment. 90 days without sex and without even thoughts about it. The first 2 weeks were hell. His body rebelled. His mind was throwing up dirty fantasies. His friends were laughing. But then something amazing happened. On the 18th day, he woke up with a clear understanding of what he wanted to do. An old business idea that had been gathering dust in his head for years suddenly took shape. A month later, he sat down to write a business plan. The words flowed by themselves, as if someone was dictating them from above. And 2 weeks later, he accidentally met an investor in the gym. He himself offered money for the project. Is this magic? No. This is your natural strength, which has finally stopped leaking into the sand. Why are women instinctively drawn to men who practice abstinence? Imagine 2 types of men. The first is always ready for adventures. His eyes dart. His gaze is insatiable. He may be handsome, successful, but you can feel hunger in him. And women read it instantly. The second is calm. He doesn't avoid women, but he doesn't chase them either. His presence makes you feel warm and safe. He doesn't try to prove anything to anyone, because he's enough of himself. Which type will women be drawn to? The second one, because he's not a consumer. He's a source. A friend of mine, a successful psychologist, once admitted, "I can tell in 5 minutes how much energy a man has." Those who waste themselves on everyone they meet, speak loudly, gesticulate, try to impress, but the truly strong are silent. They know that their value is not in words. What happens to the body and psyche after 3 months of abstinence? The brain is rebuilt. The fog goes away. Diamond concentration appears. Emotions become even. It's hard to get angry. Dreams turn into colorful films. Answers come to questions that have tormented you for years. People start treating you like a leader, even if you don't say a word. The most common question, isn't it bad for your health? The myth that abstinence is harmful was invented by those who are afraid of your strength. Imagine monks, yogis, warriors of antiquity saved energy for years and only became stronger. Your body will not fall apart. On the contrary, it will be renewed. How to get through withdrawal? The first 7 to 10 days are the hardest. Here are life hacks that will help. A cold shower in the morning reboots the nervous system. Sports until you sweat. Turns desire into strength. Creativity, draw, write, build. Redirect energy. Avoid triggers. Social networks with hot content. Empty talk. The main thing is to remember, every minute of abstinence makes you stronger. You are accumulating energy that you will later invest in your greatness. The final question, is it worth giving up on relationships? No. Abstinence is not about avoiding women. It is about controlling your power. When you stop being dependent, you can build real relationships where there is depth, respect, and passion that does not drain, but fills. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. The secret mechanism of transformation. What really happens to you during abstinence? Have you ever wondered why in ancient traditions initiates went through a period of sexual abstinence before important initiations? It's not just a ritual. It's a technology for awakening dormant potential. Let's take a closer look at what processes are triggered in your body and psyche when you consciously preserve your life force. The first thing you need to understand is that sexual energy is not just a liquid in your testicles or ovaries. It is a subtle substance that circulates through special channels in your body. In yoga, it is called ajas, the quintessence of life force. When you stop losing the substance, it begins to rise up the spine, nourishing your brain and revealing abilities you never even suspected. A real story from practice. A 35-year-old programmer came to me for a consultation, complained of chronic fatigue, brain fog, and lack of motivation. When we looked into his lifestyle, it turned out that he'd been masturbating daily for 15 years, simply out of habit, to fall asleep. After 3 months of abstinence and special breathing practices, this man not only solved his energy problems, but also learned to play the piano, even though he had no ear for it before. Started having prophetic dreams, which helped him avoid a bad deal. His face literally looked 5 to 7 years younger. It's not magic. It's your innate ability to self-heal, which is blocked by the constant squandering of semen. The neurobiology of abstinence, what the latest research shows. In 2021, a group of German scientists conducted an experiment with 200 men who practiced abstinence. The MRI results showed increasing gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, decision-making area, by 12 to 15%, activation of the pineal gland epiphysis, which Descartes called the seat of the soul, synchronization of the right and left hemispheres, state of creative flow. But the most interesting thing is that 68% of the participants showed an unusual effect. They began to literally feel people. Without words, they understood when they were being lied to, guess thoughts. Modern science explains this by the activation of mirror neurons. Female alchemy, why abstinence makes a woman magnetic. If for men abstinence is the accumulation of strength, then for women, it is a transformation of energy into something more valuable. In ancient mysteries, temple priestesses remained virgins until age 30, not because of moral norms, but because it allowed them to develop intuition to the level of clairvoyance, maintain youth and beauty without makeup, influence reality with the power of thought, the phenomenon of female intention. A modern example is the story of a famous businesswoman who consciously gave up sex for a year during the launch of a startup. Result, attracted $2 million in investments, although she had been rejected before. Lost 15 kilograms without dieting. Started to see the aura of people, which helped in selecting a team. 7 levels of transformation. What happens and when? First level, 3 to 7 days. A surge of strength, improved sleep. Second, 14 to 21 days. Sharpened perception, creative upsurge. Third, 30 to 40 days. Change in body odor, becomes musky. Fourth, 60 to 90 days. Appearance of a magnetic look. Fifth, 4 to 6 months. Ability to influence events. 6. 1 year. Awakening of dormant sections of DNA. 7th. 3 and plus years. Complete transformation of consciousness. Important warning. In the 3rd, 4th week, many face a crisis of cleansing. Old diseases may come out, nightmares may come, irritability may appear. This is not a reason to stop. In this way, the body removes blocks and toxins. Practical tools. 1. Vajra breathing, Tibetan technique. Inhale through the nose, imagining how the energy rises from the perineum to the crown. Hold for 7 seconds. Slowly exhale through the mouth. 2. Morning ritual. Wake up, immediately massage the earlobes, activates energy. A glass of warm water with lemon. 5 minutes of standing barefoot on the ground. 3. Nutrition for maintaining strength. More celery, pomegranates, pumpkin seeds. Less coffee, alcohol, spicy food. The finale of our story. Now you understand why this practice was hidden for centuries. Because a person who has mastered his sexual energy becomes like a god. He is no longer a slave to instincts. He is the creator of his reality. The choice is yours. Continue to scatter the diamonds of your life force, or gather them into the diamond of your great destiny. The first step is to simply stop and watch how your true potential awakens. After a month of practice, return to this article. You will be surprised how many coincidences will begin to happen in your life.